Hello, everybody out there on YouTube. We are the Middle-Aged Guys, and we're going to continue on with our reviews of all the episodes of Young Justice. Let's get the introductions out of the way. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
And I'm Gray Mouse 1.
If you haven't seen the series and playlists that we've put together, we're going through all the episodes of Young Justice, from the first one all the way to everything in the second season, leading up to the third season, which will be coming out on DC's direct digital service coming out next year. So let's continue on. The particular episode that we're going to cover this video is season 1, episode 4. Episode 4 out of season 1, Drop Zone. Okay, I have a feeling I'm going to be saying episode a lot this particular video. To cover the synopsis, basically what happens in Drop Zone is that the team is sent out on their very first mission, and then even though they don't have a leader, they're sent out to Santa Prisca, which happens to be the location where Bane manufactures all of his venom. Turns out everything at Isla Prisca isn't kosher. Bane's venom production plant has actually been taken over by the Cult of the Cobra, and they've actually cooked up this super venom that they've combined with the blockbuster formula, and basically they're going ahead and they're going to be selling this particular Cobra venom, as they call it, back to the Light, and the Light can go ahead and use that to create their own, superpowered metahumans that are physically, powerful enough to face off with guys like Superman and the other members of Justice League. They're sent in this covert mission, and to say the least, covert mission gets blown. Everything goes to crap. The guys end up getting scattered to the winds. Then once they regroup, they finally figure out, okay, look, we understand that we've been doing all this. We've just been flying out of the wing. We need a leader. In which case, they decide that Calderon or Aqualad is going to be the leader of the team, at least until Robin is ready to go ahead and take the reins of leadership. They figure out who's supplying and who's buying the Cobra venom. They prevent a huge shipment of it leaving the island aboard Sportsmaster's helicopter and everything else. They report back to Mount Justice, and Batman, even though he gives them a good browbeating, congratulates them on having a good job. That's pretty much where the episode ends, with the members of Light going ahead and pontificating and considering all of the actions that the young heroes have done against them, especially over the last 2 episodes. All right? Just like before, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover this review with 3 particular talking points. First one, what did we like? Second one, what did we not like? Or if we had a chance to change things, what would we change? And the third one, like I said, since we've seen these videos, or excuse me, these episodes multiple times, what sort of thing actually serves as a hint or a setup to something that happens in the future? All right? So, first talking point right now, our first thing that we're going to cover is what did we like? Gentlemen, the floor is open. Go ahead. Take it away from me.
The beginning, when the plant was being taken over and, Bane gets up in there. He's like, yeah, you want me at my best, because they gave him his venom formula. He's like, what's the catch? No catch. So they actually, Bane versus Mammoth. And Shimmer is there. And yeah, Bane basically gets his ass kicked. Hail Cobra. This was the picking of the leader episode. Even Robin asked, so who's in charge? And Batman's like, you work that amongst yourselves. The conversation on who was going to be in charge was pretty interesting, because Kid Flash and Robin were basically arguing over it. But then Miss Martian looked at Superboy and was like, you don't want to lead? And Superboy's like, no. And then you? And she's like, after Twister, after the Twister fiasco? And Superboy smiled at her and he's like, you did all right. And she blushed. She kept giving him compliments. And that was the first time that he really kind of opened up to even complimenting anyone. And it just so happens to be her, which was very interesting. I totally was like, okay, yeah, yeah, we see where this is going. Oh God, the fact that it got to the point where the stealth camera, okay, there was only two people that didn't have it. One, Superboy chose not to. No capes, no tights. He's like, no, no, and no. And then there's Robin. That basically was just like, Robin doesn't need it. And you should already fucking know why. Infrared vision, Superboy. They actually had him use it. Kid Flash has goggles. Infrared vision, Superboy. Okay, Robin gets his ass kicked by Cobra, which, that's pretty interesting. And how they chose Calderon to lead was interesting because of them being in a dire situation. And yeah, Robin wanted to lead so bad. He could taste it. He's like, look, how could my first mission as leader go this wrong? And then basically everybody voted for Calderon to be the leader. So even though things didn't go real well, at least things went as smoothly as it can go at the end. There was a couple of comedy things in this episode, and I know I'm rambling on, but this episode revealed a lot as far as the coming together of the team. And it's still pointing out certain individual aspects of everyone on the team. So I thought it was pretty interesting that they did all that in one episode, and even Bane was calling that out. He's like, yeah, good chain of command. He was basically fucking with them when they were teamed up for the short time. All in all, this episode was very interesting.
What about you, Grievance? What's left?
Nothing.
I mean, is there anything that you can go ahead and elaborate on? I don't think kind of blanketed everything there.
The good thing is, I mean, what I liked about it was the introduction of certain characters. Introduction of Bane, introduction of Sportsmaster, introduction of Cobra, introduction of what's his name? I can't think off the top of my head. What was the guy's name?
Lord Cobra.
Yeah. So it was a setup of who these characters are, and that's pretty much yeah.
It was kind of, what was kind of interesting was the whole Mammoth thing. If you remember Mammoth from Teen Titans, Mammoth was totally different. Mammoth was talking, and Mammoth was part of the High Five. They had him with Cobra Venom in this episode. So I was like, that's a little bit different than the way Mammoth was in Teen Titans.
Well, one thing is they didn't name him by name. They didn't name old girl by name either. It's just like if you didn't know who Mammoth was, you didn't know who that. All you knew was that guy took some of that super whammadined venom.
Well, they named Shimmer by name.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Yep, and I mean, there was quite a few things that happened like this particular contained episode. One of the things that I particularly liked was that it really went out of its way and really kind of demonstrated, it showed, not told people that, yeah, these guys are new at this and they're not really a well-oiled team yet. The fact that they had to sit down and they had to just before anything even started or even got close to hitting a groove, there were so many fucking false starts in this whole episode. There was at least 4 fucking false starts where people were like, we're going to do something. Hey, where the fuck did they go? All right. What happened? Where are you guys? There were so many false starts to this, which really kind of showed that they were still in the process of team building, which I completely enjoyed. It was definitely great. All right.
Yeah.
Now that we go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, like I said, it was kind of cool even when Bane was interacting with them.
Yeah.
When Robin disappeared, or when Miss Martian tried to read his mind.
Yeah.
He was like, chica.
Yeah.
He's like, he's memorizing these football scores in Espanol.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely great. There's actually a lot of really small details they're just sprinkling in with a lot of the interactions, but definitely the way that they handled the interactions. It was kind of one. It was one of the things that I think they tried to put to the forefront of this particular episode that they were really effective at. Okay, now which that takes us to our second talking point. What's one of the things that you didn't like, or if you had a chance to change, what would you change about this episode?
The way they got discovered. Kid Flash runs and he trips and he falls in the middle of a fucking battle between two groups that they were trying to ignore. That's one of the main things I didn't like, honestly, because I was like, wait, what? That simple mistake? Something that easy? You've been doing this for how long, Trips, Kid Flash? How the fuck do you slip, trip, and fall?
Yeah, that's definitely something to point out. What about you, Gray Mouse? What stuck out to you?
Well, they didn't name Mammoth. They just threw him in there, and if you didn't know who he was, you would have no clue. All you think is that it's a mutated guy off of that Venom. I mean, so they should have at least named him. Yeah, that's probably the only thing that I didn't like.
Yeah, I don't know about that particular one as something that bothered me. Because at least he shows up later to do other things later on.
Yeah.
But one of the things that bugs me, and not because it only happened in this particular episode, but Kid Flash, from one of the fastest people on Earth, he trips over his own feet a lot, okay? Because it happened in episode number 1. It happens in episode number 2. It happened in episode number 3. And it happens again in this particular episode, all right? There hasn't been an episode yet where all of a sudden he's running headlong into something and he trips over his own feet and he, completely fucks up the situation for everybody involved, all right? And
he was in stealth cam and he still tripped and fell and still got discovered.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's probably a pet peeve of mine having to deal with, these characters with super speed where everything should be standing still as fast as they're going, even though he's not as fast as the Flash or some of the other speedsters, right, in this particular iteration of Wally West. Historically, though, through DC Comics, he is actually, I think, the fastest out of the speedsters, out of the members of the Flash family, all right? But the whole thing with it is that, yeah, for somebody who moves so fast and it's that's their greatest claim to fame, it's you think you wouldn't trip so much, all right? And it didn't bug me that much until, like I said, I counted it down. It happened in the first episode, it happened in the second episode, happened in the third episode, and it happens in this particular episode too. So that definitely bugs me. All right.
I think that bothered me. So I was like, wait, okay, if they would have heard Superboy when he dropped down, fine. If they would have been like, what was that? And they could have came and met and attacked, I would have been all right with that because that would have been Superboy's mistake.
Yeah.
Not Kid Flash tripping over his own 2 feet in the middle. Why the fuck didn't you stay back? Oh, he went to go find Robin. Robin ducked out on him because it was yeah. And even Bane was like, did he already get captured? No, he just does that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So now that we've covered what we liked, what we didn't like, or what we could change, or what we'd like to change in this particular episode, let's go ahead and let's cover. Now that we've watched this episode multiple times, what was something that we noticed this time around that set up things that are happening in the future, or sets up something that happens in a future episode or storyline arc?
I love the way they kind of displayed how skilled Sportsmaster is, because that's going to set up certain things down the line. He even kind of knew where Miss Martian was when she was even camoed. Even though, okay, why is she stealth and camoed? That was kind of... But anyway, yeah, the Cobra Venom thing, that is going to set up for basically something else down the line, and not even what it's originally was used for.
Yep. What about you, Grandmouse? What stood out to you as something that was setting up for a future episode or future storyline arc.
After the fight with Mammoth, and they trap themselves, or Superboy knocks out the beams and causes that cave in. The interaction between Aqualad and Robin sets up that future that Robin will eventually take command of that group, because Aquaboy's going on a deep undercover operation. But so I think he said to Robin that you're born to lead, but just not now.
Yeah, you were born to lead this team, maybe not now, but soon. That was his exact words.
And that was like an extreme foreshadow of what's going to happen as well. And then the other thing is the relationship between Superboy and Miss Martian. They have been, hinting, like we said in the beginning, you did good, back and forth. I mean, she even blushed, and then it's like in her, what do you call her, spaceship, right before before they dropped, she was saying something about, it's right along the thing about Superboy not wanting to have the camo, no capes, no tights like that. And she got embarrassed, and then she puts her hood on and just goes invisible, and she's like, trying to disappear from, it was an awkward, so I was like, so we're getting a little bit more serious here with that obviously that Miss Martian likes Superboy.
Yeah, I think this is the first episode where they really kind of hint at that. It's like, okay, now they're both in on it. Okay, they're both thinking that this is cool, right? I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit. Okay, this particular episode is the first episode that actually calls back to things that happened previously in the series. All right, the whole Blockbuster and Cadmus, Blockbuster formula and Cadmus thing.
Yep.
It's one of those things where it's like, all right, maybe this is a one-off. Blockbuster is locked up by the Justice League. No, that's not the case. Everything, all the work that Dr. Desmond did as far as Blockbuster formula, it's out there. Somebody is using it for something. All right, and this is hinting toward much bigger things. But this is one of those things where when it comes to the writing of this show, one of the reasons why a lot of people loved it so much was there are so many things that are just kind of interconnect together. And when you start pulling the strings apart, it's like, wow, this is the first one that goes ahead and calls back to previous episodes where it's like, yeah, that little thing that we dropped in the trail, this is where it led up to, or at least this is where it led up to at this point. And that was one of the cool things. The other thing that was really cool was that I just absolutely love how they, like Theme had mentioned in the previous video, most other superhero shows of the age, all right, or leading up to this point, we pretty much close out with all the heroes, sitting together laughing, ha ha ha, with a laugh track and everything, everything's all good and hunky-dory, roll credits and everything else. This one stopped with, again, Sportsmaster sitting in front of the light, and he was telling him, hey, look, I was only able to leave Isla Prisu with one ampule of the Cobra Venom, and one of the members of the light, I think it's the Brain, he's like, so what about the young heroes? That comes up again. Vandal Savage, says that, yes, this is becoming quite troubling. Once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, but 3 times is enemy action. And enemies of light must not stand. And they close out on that. So obviously hinting that these bad guys are not only just acting, but they're making notes of everything that's going on as far as not just the Justice League, but also the young heroes that they went ahead and they've recruited to do these covert op missions. And they've got something in store for their asses. That's pretty much what it boils down to with those particular closing lines right there. I absolutely love it for that.
What's interesting about that is that the light is still the entity behind the curtain, still pulling strings, significant strings, putting in, it's like chess. They're putting certain pieces in motion for a future episode. And just real quick, while I have you guys, I think this episode 2 was the first time that they allowed Miss Martian to link them up telepathically in their head. And the thing was interesting was that Superboy was kind of against it in the previous episodes, and even in this episode, he's like, "Yeah, I'm here," type of attitude. But that actually saved their ass when they got out of that tunnel with Bane. He told Aqualad told Kid Flash to back up a little bit, get a little bit of running room, and he ran up there and pulled that little switch out of Bane's hand, which set up. So yeah, it's like this series. We're only the 4th episode in. This series it's one of those things that you got to actually watch. You would get more enrichment, more enjoyment out of the episodes if you watched the previous episodes leading up to the one that you're watching, because it pays major homage each one.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is definitely as far as it goes. This definitely sets us on the path where they want the story to go.
Another thing one more thing with this episode, with the whole do this, do that, do that. You didn't even know that certain people would or could be doing certain things until it was done in this episode, like Kid Flash having his infrared goggles, Superboy having his infrared vision,
Yep.
And like Grey Mouse just said, everyone being linked up due to Aqualad's command. As he said, yeah, Superboy, yeah, he was like, yeah, like he wasn't really up for it yet.
The thing is, though, what was really fun, I know I'm rambling again, but what was really fun about this was that there's a reason for them to link up. They didn't just link up just to link up. It was because of the communication when that helicopter, King Cobra, was coming in.
Because their shit was jammed. Yeah,
and so it made sense then. It's just these perfectly placed little hints everywhere, and it's just, like I said, it's perfectly placed, and it means something. It's not just thrown in just for plot-wise. It's thrown in at appropriate places and appropriate times.
Well, as you guys know, this is still team building as well. They're not a functionable unit yet.
Yeah.
And they're still individually thinking and doing to a certain point. And this is now that they chose a leader, now he's going to be able to give certain commands. Now you're going to see more of the coming together and more of the trust building within this team.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the cool things about it, is that this particular one, we're definitely at a point where they're still going through growing pains, and smartly, instead of just going ahead and telling the audience, hey, this is what's going on, they went out of their way to go ahead and actually show it and demonstrate it in front of everybody. And, granted, like I said before in previous videos, we watched this over 12, 54, 60 times or something like that, and these are things that we're picking up now, but the storytelling is so effective that it's something that comes across really well, especially for somebody who's watching through the episodes in sequential order. Yep. All right. Was there anything else that we want to cover before we go ahead and wrap this one up?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think this one is good too. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for our review of Season 1, Episode 4, Drop Zone, which originally aired out January 28th, 2011. This is actually where Cartoon Network actually decided to go ahead and start everything on the regular rotation. Because I believe they do that for a little while before they go on break again, but that's something that we'll get to in a future episode. What we really want to know, folks, is what did you think about Young Justice Season 1, Episode number 4, Drop Zone? Have you watched the episode? What were your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on our particular review? Was there something that we missed? We'd like to know. You can let us know by leaving a comment below. While you're at it, go ahead, hit that like button, hit subscribe. We love seeing likes. We love seeing the subscriptions. It lets us know that somebody's watching the videos. I can be a little vain that way. It's just being honest. All right. With that, all of our bullshit on our review for this particular Young Justice episode is going to end right here. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
Grey Mouse 1.
All forms of entertainment has the right to exist, even if you don't like it. Credits.